Hey, friends, how are you? JJ Cannon, CEO of Digital Delight. And if you are just joining us, we just got done with part one. So you think you want to be a home tech pro. And Kris, you kind of left off talking about live install. And I was talking about how you kind of glossed over one of the most impactful things that I think a business owner should do, and that was awareness. And whenever you told me this story a couple of years ago, you said that you were injured. You were sitting on your sofa and you're watching the Academy Awards or one of those award shows, and a hashtag would come up across the bottom, and that kind of got you thinking about what your hashtag should be, and that's where you came up with that live install hashtag. If I'm saying that right, is that correct?
Oh yeah, it was an awareness of where's the action, where does my business need to be, and how can I be distinctive on that platform, which at the time was Twitter. Twitter was mega. It was awesome. 2011 to 15, Twitter was just the place to hang out. And what was what was apparent was that lots of other people in our industry also wanted to hang out and network with each other and share ideas and share images, and it was all image based, so it was very complimentary. There was lots of sharing, there was lots of feedback, and if that couldn't be done on Twitter, then we created our own platform for that. We had a forum with hundreds of people in it, from around the globe, and we would have different groups and different chats and different specialisms where people would hang out, on the hours after work when you've done all your paperwork and you maybe wanted to research a new product. Well, I'll just ask the group, and in the same way we have Facebook groups and we have forums now, but this was all self-run, self-managed, and was flourishing. At the same time, I was facing a challenge, though, in my business, that I was about to relocate from the north of Scotland to the south of England, a shift of around about 600 miles. I moved family, business, horses, animals from the north of Scotland to the south of England, and started my business from scratch in 2015 in a new location, zero customers, but wanted to tap into the opportunities that are available in this part of the UK where we currently are. And it's been a fantastic decision for us business wise and personally. Our family life has just been a day and night for us in the way that we live now.
Yeah, and being observant, Gamble, really gave you that foothold into doing something different, and really enabling you as a business owner to be presentable. And yes, you wanted to create awareness for customized, but you really didn't understand truly what you were doing, the impact that hashtag live install would have on the entire industry as a whole, especially on your side. I mean, I really wasn't into social media myself until maybe about 4, 5, 6 years. Man, maybe 6, 7 years ago is when I started doing a lot of Facebook lives, and but I really didn't know about live install until you and I met maybe 3 years ago or so. So we met socially as well. But one of the common threads that I see between yourself and myself in those earlier mid early days, I guess, was our awareness for communication, for what maybe the homeowners were wanting. Because as I was talking about, my education through our industry was very uniform, in the sense of the products that we sold, the clientele that we were serving. It was very narrow in its scope. How we communicated a message was also very uniform. And what stuck with me in my crawl was this. I was taking another course by a guy, um, Ron Callis, and he owns a firm out in California, a marketing firm. And he had made a statement.
Florida.
He's in Florida now, but I think at that
Oh,
time
okay.
he was out in
Okay.
California. But he had made a statement in one of his classes about what separates you from other people in this room. What separates you? Who's going to be the crazy dancer? And I remember I'm also playing this video of this hippie on the side of a mountain just dancing all crazy, and like, who would want to dance like that? And then another guy kind of started to dance with them, and before you knew it, by the end of the video, the entire mountainside was full of other crazy dancers, and that always stuck in my mind. He also showed a video on another course on a different year with Simon Sinek. It was called The Golden Circle and the Why. And these two things are bouncing around in my head for a couple of years. Like, why do I do what I do? Why do the clients want to use Digital Delight over, why would they call JJ over, Joe or somebody else? Like, why would they want to? What's the differentiator? How can I be a crazy dancer? What is my why as a business owner? And because I was providing the same type of systems, the racks, the highly engineered systems that were complicated, that has a bunch of wires, a bunch of boxes that took up a closet. What made me different than JJ from, I don't know, Chad, or Sarah?
Our industries for a long time had a blueprint, like a cookie cutter shape that you had to kind of fit into this mold. And I'll be honest, I also didn't feel comfortable trying to fit in with the crowd. And it's a reason I changed direction a short time after you did. But there's definitely a mold that you can fit into in this industry. Is still very much available through the traditional training channels, through the traditional brands that are out there that have been the steadfast long-term brands for our industry. And it's easy just to slip into that glove. It's a nice fit. I tell you, you've got to have a very good sales tactics. You've got to have a very good affluent customer base surrounding you, because this traditional mold carries a very high price to the homeowner, and that for me didn't always sit comfortably over the years that I was in that mold.
For me, Gamble, I found I started listening to my client, and kind of how you were being very observant of how to brand and create awareness for your business, and you were being very observant with hashtags on social media, and I was being observant to the responses that I was getting from new clients, from the clients that I had, as well as clients that had already had some type of system, or a friend of theirs had a system, and listening to the type of response that they were giving. And I think for anybody who is in business, we're talking about home technology professional business. You need to keep your head on a swivel. You don't want to necessarily keep yourself in the same lane, because there might be other opportunities to choose from. At the time, whenever we started our business, it was, the 1%, the high end, the luxury market. And I kept telling myself, there's another market that is available, that has a lot more opportunity in larger, in larger numbers. And instead of doing 5-10 jobs a year, why can't we do hundreds of jobs a year? And so we started looking at other options of, how can I take all this incredible education, this experience that I had for 15-16 years, and literally flip what we were doing and taught upside down, give it a little shake, and do something different. And how could I truly be different than the other guys that were kind of driving in the same lane that I was
So
driving in?
the same principles are very much adhered to: the
Huh.
attention to detail, the quality control, the staff training, the customer communication, the business branding, the business marketing. Everything is taken very, very seriously. It's just you're dealing with a different pool of products in a lot of cases, and you're dealing with more customers. Therefore, all your skills and attributes have to be upped a level. I feel you're heightened when you're dealing with hundreds of clients per month or per year rather than a few dozen per year. And it is hard to scale a business, maybe not financially, because if you're following the traditional mold, you can scale up financially, but you're always chasing a bigger price tag, trying to sell more equipment, some more boxes, like basically extract as much money from the customer as possible. And I truly believe that happens a lot in our industry. There's a huge extraction factor always happening. Whereas because you're worried, you've only got 5 customers, 6 customers, 8 customers this year. But if you're, I feel less of a burden when I'm dealing with hundreds of customers per month, smaller paychecks, yes, but more accumulative and more higher turnover and new opportunities appearing all the time. We're never getting bogged down on the same site, on the same project. I go to a different project every day. I
Yeah.
go to dozens per week,
Yeah.
and deliver a very highly presented, highly professional service to my customers using brands that they have an awareness of and instantly fall in love with.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was one of the key switches that we made about 5 years ago. And so that was 2014, 2015. We started looking at other ways to design a home technology system. And that's where we kind of came up with the whole silo option of system local, because we heard a lot of pain points. We started, as our business was continuing and starting to get into a variety of different houses, and technology changed, Gamble. I mean, up to a certain point, that was all that was offered. There was really no alternative, compared to what we are designing now. But as soon as there was an alternative, we started looking, how can we take hold of some of these newer technologies that are coming into play, apply them towards all the education, because you still need to understand how a network works, and everything that we do is based, the foundation of everything we do is based on the network. And you can't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be a home technology professional, and expect to know how a network works. You have to have experience. You have to have training to do that. You can't just wake up one day and say, hey, I need to get a wire from here to there, unless you work for an internet service provider or a cable company and just staple a wire along. That's not what we do. A home technology professional is exactly that. It's custom. You hide the wires. You run them in a neat way. You label them with purpose, and not just to get it working. Just getting it working is not the end of the game. I mean, regardless of if our client is wanting an installation, a $500 installation on a TV hang and bang, to $100,000-$200,000 system, they're both custom. You get the professional on the very affordable labor job versus something that could take months to complete. The service and the quality is the same from end to end, and regardless of the design, it's still custom. There still needs to be education. You just don't wake up and do it necessarily.
Yeah, I did that relocation from the north of Scotland down to the south of England and quickly started working in London, the real melting pot for our industry. It's where everybody gravitates to in the UK market. People early in their businesses say, oh, I won't work in London. We won't go there. You will end up working there. The money is there. That's where you end up. Fact. If you're within 100 miles of there, you get sucked in like gravitational pull. But what I found was the first year or so I was working in that area, I thought I was doing the custom integration, the custom installation thing with the brands that you're meant to use and the relationships you're meant to have and the things you're meant to sell. And it wasn't really what the customer wanted. When I started analyzing it, I just knew this customer is not really tuned in to what we've given them. It's kind of gone over their head a little bit that they've got this bespoke, over-engineered, complicated, installer led, always needs the installer to tweak it and fix it. And it just didn't feel, didn't sit comfortable with me that this is the path we're going to be on for the next decade. And we're always reviewing what we do. And at the same time, there was this appearance of new technologies, new brand names, well-known brand names entering the space of controlling the home, automating the home, making the home smart. When smart home became a thing, that was the point where I had to ditch the legacy. I couldn't continue working with brands and technology that wasn't really innovating. It was like the old stuff spruced up a little bit, the old stuff given a spit and polish. No, I wanted some fresh tech to give to a fresh audience and also introduce to my existing audience and customers, and something that I could be excited about, the people in my business could be excited about, my customers ultimately could be excited about. And that came at the right time. 2015, 2016, 2017, that was Nests and Logitechs and Sonos. And Sonos have been around a while, but it was reaching a tipping point where it was a viable option. I could link these things together and create some fantastic experiences for homeowners. I ditched the legacy. From that point on, I couldn't wait to finish the last job that was in the book, that was the legacy, which had been specified, and we couldn't turn it around and change the script for that one. But when that last job was done, it was like, oh my God, that it is such a relief to now move in a different direction with new, exciting, innovative tech, which is equally as challenging and equally needs a professional. And we're loving that direction change that we took.
And so that for us, it evolved out of listening to the client and what was the client asking for. And to be honest with you, Gamble, I never had clients asking for what you and I deem as legacy products that came in a rack, unless I mentioned their names. And then they really didn't have a positive response to some of those manufacturers that I would mention. But as soon as we started talking about, or the client started talking about video doorbells or climate control
Yeah,
or
smart thermostats. They became
household
household
names.
terms. Yeah, that was the difference. All of a sudden, the dialogue changed, and there was words and descriptions and scenarios we were being told, this is what we want. Complete flip, complete change from the past.
Yeah, and the clients were embracing that type of technology, something completely different than what I was offering in the past. And in addition, all these devices had some type of control capability that you could use with a smartphone or a tablet. And the setup, uh, I'll get into as a business owner, but from a client's perspective, I wanted to offer something that they felt there was true value in, a product that they were familiar with, and something that their friends had experienced with positive return as well, and caused a major shift in our systems, getting into silo, and then finding 5 categories, 5 manufacturers that, if designed in an ecosystem, made a very uniform package that we could provide our homeowners with, that was easy for them to understand. And Gamble, you really broke us out of the shell with the acronym of NULS, which stood for, our Fab Five manufacturers at the time. For me, it's kind of shifted a little bit, and I'm more into the REALS, acronym of products, which is Ring, Eero, Lutron, Logitech, and Sonos. And with those 5 manufacturers, with those building blocks of manufacturers, you can do a whole lot of intelligent, smart home designing with those five. And of course, off of those Fab Five, you can do, little tentacles of other incredible products. But it all works with voice control or a smart or a smartphone or even a nice still handheld remote control system that people really and also part of that Fab Five gamble was less is more. Less products, less boxes, less wires, more reliability, more affordable, minimalistic, compact, no heat, not having to take up an entire closet. And whenever I started explaining that to clients, the alternatives, their eyes started to light up. They started nodding their head in agreement with that's what we want. That they had prior experiences or had clients or friends that had other experiences with more of the legacy products, and they wanted to try something different with products that they actually were familiar with. And that was a big shift for us, Gamble, back 5-6 years ago. And that's really where you and I started
Sure.
finding out about one
You know,
another.
we were, throwing it right back to live install again. The people and the relationships I had back then, they started to suffer. The bridges started to be burned as my direction changed, my opinions changed, and I shared my opinion. That's why I do a podcast. That's why I do my content. I share my opinions. It's just my opinion, but people didn't like me talking about an alternative. People didn't like me being vocal about um, the flaws with what I perceived as flaws with the legacy tech. Real issues that I was having as pain points as a business owner, and then that pain point's been transferred to the homeowner. And once you're transferring pain over to a homeowner, it's game over. You're going to lose that customer. You're going to lose them real quick if you add friction when what you sold them was a utopia of technology heaven, and in reality they sometimes wish they just had a simple switch or something really simple to use or didn't have anything tech. And if that's happened, you've failed. And you can sugarcoat it all you like, but I know there's a lot of installations of let down and failed homeowners over the years. And it did burn bridges. It did burn bridges. So I had to look for new people to hang out with, to share ideas and gain knowledge from other people that were doing that. And that's where I came across JJ Cannon, Digital Delight, saw it in the American trade press, that there was a company dealing with the similar brands to what I was doing. Some of the buzz terms you were using, less is more, was all in my kind of notebook of where I want to go in the future. And the nulls you talked about, Fab Five having a limited range of products, but being highly skilled at deploying it, highly skilled at supporting it, and knowing that individually each of these brands would perform excellently for my homeowner customers. But if I start to merge two of them together, three of them together, four of them together, all five together, it just enhances the experience. It just amplifies and confirms for the client, I made the right decision going with customized, and they've guided me in the right direction by choosing this for my multi-room music, choosing this for my Wi-Fi system, choosing this as my security system to protect my home, this is my system to protect my family against smoke, flood, burglar, that type of thing. So when I started coming across Digital Delight, I knew instantly I need to speak to this guy. We tried to meet. The first CEDIA I visited, 2017, I think,
We were
2018.
like two ships passing in the night.
Yeah, I didn't meet you, but I reached out to you after,
Yeah,
and from then on, really, we started to
really
share
pop.
ideas about. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And Gamble, whenever we made that shift, there was a couple of business happenings that happened. So this conversation is so you think you want to be a home tech pro, and listening to the client caused us to shift our business. And in shifting our business, there was a couple of positives about that. One, our inventory really reduced, and so managing inventory became a lot easier to do because we had more narrower product selection. The design was a lot easier for us to turn out. The education that our technicians needed to obtain was a lot easier for them to ramp up, as well as if we wanted to bring new talent on, new technicians, it was equally as easy for them to get involved at a very quick high level of understanding. These devices that we started providing and designing, Gamble, allowed us to get off of roofs, to get out of attics, to eliminate the need of getting off of ladders. So a lot of that liability of injury was also taken out of the equation for us, which really was concerning for me. For my employees, I wanted them to have a safe work environment. So how could I do that by doing this shift? That was crucial factor into wanting me to do this shift as well, because in Texas, man, those attics, they are hot, they are
Yeah.
dangerous. They're no fun at all. And then getting on roofs, I mean, it's like a cat on a hot tin roof, except they're not tin, they're tar. You know. The other thing that I didn't foresee, Gamble, is that with the legacy systems, a lot of our time was filled with service, go backs, management, maintaining, these highly engineered systems. There were so many wires that there was a lot of opportunity for failure points. And whenever we completely switched over, um, there weren't so many service calls anymore.
It's hard to make money on callbacks. In fact, you make no money. It just
Well,
eats and eats into the profit.
well, with the legacy systems, Gamble, you have to hire a technician that it has to have high training, that's of high value to maintain these systems that are already out in the field, and to maintain that high dollar, high value client, technician that everybody else is trying to hire as well, is for a
Yeah,
business owner not that exciting.
that's what that the term for that type of person would be a programmer in the UK. I don't know if that's a term
Yeah,
you use.
yeah,
These are specialist people that might be fluent in multiple control systems, that they can write the big scripts and codes for big automations to happen in these complicated systems. Yeah, and it's the codes and the programmer that make product A talk to product B to trigger product C. And for a long time, that's how home automation worked. Then this thing appeared called the cloud. And you didn't need that anymore. Or you still need that, but if you still need that, you're still dealing with legacy. If you're not dealing now cloud to cloud with systems, you've really got to question the choice of products, because when you deal cloud to cloud, all that technical responsibility gets lifted from you. There's the companies at the high level are dealing with each other so that errors can't be made. Brand A will talk to brand B because they're talking to each other at brand level, not because David, the programmer, sat on a empty paint tab with his laptop, set up the program. You're open for errors if you're relying on David in the closet sitting on the overturned paint tab with his laptop wired into your system. When you're dealing with brands talking to other brands, you're going to get far more reliability and far greater experiences with the current tech and the new tech that arrives in the future.
yeah, absolutely. Gamble, you know what? Let's go ahead and go into part three. I don't know if you still have time, and
Always.
and let's go into part three and really dive into the experiences that we have been creating. Let's maybe tell a couple of stories about the clients' experiences that are different than what they might have had in the past. Are you on board for that?
Let's go. Part three, unscripted as always. Let's go.
All right, friends. I'm JJ Cannon, CEO of Digital Delight. Here's my good friend Kris Gamble, and we'll be back. And if you don't know, find yourself a home tech pro.